Hello, hello. This is the second part of my easy fitness for Jiu-Jitsu. What is this? I'm trying to share this. And select the tab, window. There you go. Share. And slideshow. There we go. Why am I not seeing you? Not seeing me. There you go. So yeah, this is the second part of my easy fitness for Jiu-Jitsu lecture. Uh, and today I'm going to talk about concepts that kind of bind both jujitsu and fitness together. Because again, we're talking about exercise to to stay on the mats, right? How do we stay on the mats for as long as possible? And these are exercises, these are concepts that I believe are important to do both, right? And the basic jujitsu concepts that we've all heard of. First one's base, right? I define base as the points of contact with the ground, right? It's very important in both jujitsu and when lifting or doing any type of strength training. Uh, More points of contact with the ground, generally you're more stable, right? You have better balance, are harder to move, can lift heavier weights, right? Less points of contact with the ground, there's more pressure. Okay, so you know, pr- uh, pressure is force divided by surface area. So when you have less points of contact on the ground, the same amount of force, there's more force being applied, there's more pressure being applied to that point. Now that's a good thing sometimes, right? Sometimes when you want to make your partner squirm instead of being side control, you go knee on belly, right? But at the same time, sometimes when you want to be agile on your feet, right? Or you want to be bouncy, you're on the ball of your foot, not on all 3 points. You're just on the ball of your foot. So you can apply more concentrated force on the ground and move quicker, be bouncier. So it's not a good or bad thing. It's appropriate for the moment in time. Uh, in general, in lifting, I like 3 points of contact with the ground, right? On the foot. I like using the hand as a circle, right? All the whole hand. Uh, Now, when thinking about when lifting or doing push-ups or calisthenics, right? These two things apply. Now, when thinking about how else can we use this, right? We can use this to progress and regress exercises when doing, especially your body weight movements, right? The more pressure on one point, right, the harder it is, right? So that's why this is the hardest plank you've ever seen, right? Because it's a plank, that's what it is. But because you only have 1 point of contact with the ground, which is the hand, it's much harder than when you have 4 points of contact, like a regular plank, or 6 points of contact, like if you're on hands and knees crawling around, which is also a plank. Anyhow, like a push-up plank versus a crawling around plank. Okay. Now, the next concept that I relate when I'm talking about jujitsu and fitness together is the concept of posture. Right. In jujitsu, posture is only seen as having a nice tall spine, but the fact is posture is the arrangement of any of the bones, right? The whole skeleton. And the arrangement, it has to be adequate for the task at hand, right? What you're doing. So there's no good or bad here. The spine, for example, let's just talk about the spine. The spine can be, if used as a unit, if your head and hips are moving at the same time, so everything is moving together, it can be a lever or it can be a screwdriver, right? Or lever applying torque, right? Uh, well, it's both torque, but whatever. So it can be a lever or a shovel or a screwdriver. Think about it that way, right? When it's used as a unit. But when it's allowed to move, so the muscles lengthen, right? It can be used in a coordinated fashion, right? Because it can be uncoordinated and weak, but in a coordinated fashion, it can be used as a whip or a torsion screw. Think a kip up or throwing, right? The act of throwing or punching. Right here in this punching image, we have right here, what are we seeing? We're seeing somebody wind up and strike, and there's two contractions during punching, right? The one that starts the movement, the wind up starts the movement, that's the torsion spring effect. But then at the moment of contact, it becomes stiff, right? And it transfers force. So in the moment of contact, it becomes a screwdriver. Now, you can also, of course, just relax and for maximum mobility and become a rope. Okay. Now, we have the concept of connection, right? Very common jujitsu concept. Now, connection refers to three different things from my point of view, right? The first thing is how much of you is touching the thing, right? Whether the thing is a bar or a person, right? The more of you that's touching the thing, the more sensitivity you have to that thing's movement, right? And sensitivity equals control. Sensitivity equals strength, guys. Uh, our muscles contract in reaction to feel, right? In reaction to length and in reaction to tension. So more sensitivity, more tension, right? More ability to generate tension, therefore force. That's why we screw our arms into bar when we lift, right? That's why here it's showing you that you put most of the weight on the outside. It's because most people put most of the weight in the inside. Really, I mean, it's the point is evening it out. And here you're just winding those shoulders up and down, right? Externally rotating the shoulders, or the humerus, right? To create tension, to pull the slack off before you start moving the bar. But also, uh, connection is also how close is this weight to your center of gravity, right? Or your center of movement, if you're gonna look at it that way, right? And that's what this image represents, right? The closer a weight is to you, the easier it is to move that weight. Again, in jiu-jitsu, you're trying to lift somebody with a body lock or something, you get your hips to them, right? And if you're trying to clean a heavy weight, you keep it close to you on the way up. Okay, so both things are related. Now, uh, how are your body parts to each other, right? That's the last part of connection. And that goes back to posture, right? If my head and my hips move together, I can use my spine as a lever, as a screwdriver. If my head and my hips move separate from each other, when I'm trying to use it as a screwdriver, it's a problem, right? I have no connection to myself. I cannot transfer that force. Now, do I need them to move separately when I'm running fast? Yes, I do. When I'm throwing a ball? Yes, I do. But not at the end of a judo throw, for example, right? At the end of a shoulder throw, I need them to move together to torque that person over, okay? Uh, then we have breathing. Talk about breathing in jiu-jitsu all the time. So there's two main things about breathing here that relate both ways, right? First is the more volume and the more full your lungs are, the more volume there is, right? You create both pneumatic and hydraulic pressure, right? There is all kinds of air here creating pneumatic pressure. There's all kinds of liquid here, right? Mostly water, creating hydraulic pressure. And that gives the torso stiffness, which allows us to, again, use it as a lever in any direction, right? Now, but mostly in the up and down one, but still, even in any direction, really. Now, empty lungs, though, offer more mobility, right? So when you're getting smashed, like uh, stacked, right? It's easier to empty your lungs to get, in that inverted position. Now, does that make it safer or more dangerous for your spine? Well, it depends your level of mobility and how well your spine moves. Again, as a unit, how well can your spine be a rope, right? Yes, how well can your spine be a rope? That's correct. Now, the other thing we have to look at is how the breath obviously regulates our autonomic nervous system, and this is mostly about heart rate, right, guys? If you're trying to do multiple sets, you want to get your breath down before your breathing rate down before the next set, because that will slow down your heart rate, and then therefore you'll perform better in your next set, right? Unless you're sleepy, sometimes we can use breath increasing our breathing rate to get our heart rate to go faster. But rarely when I don't know, when I'm working out, whether I'm lifting or I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I don't need to get my heart rate faster ever, right? So it is a thing, but I've never seen that situation, right? I always need to slow it down. So when I want to slow down my heart rate, either between rolls, in the middle of a roll, when I'm in a hard position trying to get out, or in the middle of a workout, so I can do better on my next set, I think about my breathing and trying to slow it down and make it nice and long. Anyhow, that's it for the lecture, really. Just one more picture here that I'm showing today. This is my original little AI art thing that I did for the possible book. See, I called it here Easy Strength for Jiu-Jitsu. That's a Dan John title, Easy Strength. I might or might not at some point ask him for the permission to use it, but if not, it's going to be Easy Fitness for Jiu-Jitsu because it's really a more all-encompassing thing. But I just love albino chimps. I have I don't know, I love albino chimps, and albino chimp McGee is awesome. Anyhow, have a nice day, and I hope these concepts and these ideas help you out in some way. Thank you.